California will start paying thousands of dollars to some people to retire their older cars. The Clean Cars for All program was recently awarded $8.4 million from the state. Qualifying Bay Area residents will get $9,500 for their old, high-polluting cars to replace them with a newer, cleaner car. A $7,500 prepaid card to use for public transit or e-bikes is also part of the program. The program began in 2019 and it is restarting later this month. And joining me now to discuss this push for cleaner vehicles is Ethan Elkind. He serves as the director of the climate program at UC Berkeley Center for Law, Energy, and the Environment. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, Ethan.
Yeah, thank you, Jana. Good to be with you.
Well, President Biden's action is really a significant change from the previous administration. So how does this alter the trajectory moving forward for the United States and emissions reductions?
Well, it actually restores the trajectory that the United States was on under President Obama, who had originally put forth pretty aggressive fuel economy standards for the nation's auto fleet by 2025. And then when President Trump was elected, he tried to roll that back, and it was tied up, and now it is not only stopped by President Biden, but he has restored the Obama era standards through the car model years 2025, and then also, as you mentioned, set a directive for even more aggressive standards through 2030, so starting after 2025, and then this direction to have half of the nation's auto fleet be zero-emission vehicles or electric vehicles, or really the dominant zero-emission type of technology, which actually tracks what the major automakers have already pledged. So in a lot of ways, what President Biden is doing is not only bringing back the Obama standards, but also tracking where the industry is going already on electric vehicles.
And let's talk about that. Major automakers have committed to this plan. Some of them we did see who opposed the emission reductions in California during the previous administration. So what does the pipeline look like right now for new EV, plug-in hybrid cars? And what does this mean for consumers and their choices?
Yeah, well, one thing to keep in mind about this for California consumers is that Governor Newsom already had a mandate that by 2035, 100% of new vehicle sales in California will be zero-emission vehicles. So this is essentially putting the United States as a whole on track with where California is already going on electric vehicles to have, again, 100% new vehicles sold zero emission. But in terms of the models that are available, automakers have a lot of different models in the pipeline. And I think most prominently, it's the light duty trucks. The Ford F-150, for example, there's now an electric version that Ford has announced. And the Ford F-150 is the #1 selling car in the United States and has been for decades. So having electric trucks is really going to open up the market for these vehicles. Already, though, there are crossover SUVs available, smaller cars. And the standard range that we're seeing for these vehicles is about 300 miles on a full battery charge. And the vehicles are selling with tax credits and other incentives for about $30,000 new, which is a little bit higher than I think what many consumers can afford. But one thing to keep in mind, in addition to the incentives, is that you save a lot of money in terms of fueling costs, because it's much cheaper to fuel the vehicles with electricity instead of gasoline. And also consumers are saving a lot of money on repairs as well, because electric vehicles, they don't have an engine, they just have a motor and a battery. So there's very little moving parts in there that can go wrong. So I think this will save consumers a lot of money moving in this direction, and prices will continue to come down on the vehicles as well.
And still, when you're talking about some vehicles being about in the $30,000 range, that could be prohibitive for some people who are lower income. We saw these clean car grants that were just funded again, more than $8 million to try and help people get into better cars. Is there any research on whether these measures work? I've seen some statistics where less than 5% of the vehicles sold are electric vehicles right now.
Yeah, actually, this recent sales for the second quarter just came out, and California is about 10% now of new vehicle sales are plug-in electric. So there's a lot of good news there for Californians. But absolutely, this Bay Area Air Quality Management District plan, and it's a continuation of a program that began in 2019 and is a lot of ways modeled on the Cash for Clunkers program that we saw under the Obama administration in 2009. The research does show this is a really important program to have in place because, as we were discussing, the price of new electric vehicles can be prohibitive for many low-income consumers, although I would note that there are a number of cheaper options available on the used EV market, as well as lease options, which make it much more affordable. But these grants are really key because often lower income people are sort of forced to drive vehicles that are often some of the dirtiest on the roads because they tend to be older and less fuel efficient. So having this grant available for them to trade out very dirty, polluting vehicles to clean vehicles, or giving them an option to take transit for free or e-bikes, that's going to make a big difference, not only for our air quality, but also for just spreading the benefits of electrification to a wider array of income levels. Because there is this stereotype that electric vehicles are only for the wealthy, but that really is no longer true, as the prices have come down dramatically. But we still have a little bit of a ways to go to really make them truly accessible to all consumers of all income levels.
All right, Ethan Elkind with UC Berkeley, thank you so much for adding your insight to this.